Through our new citywide campaign, Fix the City, we will focus on the worst landlords in New York City. When necessary, we will take aggressive legal action to remove negligent owners and property managers. And for buildings that have suffered chronic neglect, we will work to transfer ownership to responsible stewards. Stewards that include community land trusts, nonprofits,
Honda, your mic is totally muted if you've been talking this entire time.
Hey, thanks for letting me know.
Sorry, I was doing some stuff.
That was about 11 minutes of the most epic rant that you've ever fucking heard. Seriously, why didn't you let me know like fucking 10 minutes? Jesus Christ.
I was seriously off doing stuff. I didn't realize you were muted this entire time.
What? Fuck off. Shut up. Fuck you. Jesus fucking Christ. Fuck shit. Well, I'm pissed now. I'm fucking angry now. I was ranting about how society is being destroyed and how we have socialism directly in our face and the smiling Mamdani who's come in from India, from his parents, not even from India. I guess they're from Uganda, from this family that used to run Uganda and have all the wealth and they got kicked out. And that's where his family comes from. But that's not even the fucking point. The point is that fuck, man, I wish like you guys had heard my last 10 minutes. I was on a roll, bro. Like it's gone. It's just fucking done. It's gone forever. It's gone forever. I'm not even going to try to fucking do it again. I'm angry, dude. Fuck that shit, dude. Why? Fuck, dude. Whatever. Talk about something.
Well, we could talk about the Second Amendment and how it's constantly being attacked. You had, what was it, Maryland Governor Wes Moore signed in a Glock ban today, which is obviously going to be fought in the courts because it's unconstitutional. You've had several other things happen in the past couple of days that are clearly causing a bunch of unconstitutional things, directly violating the Second Amendment as well as the First Amendment and everything else for that matter. So, yeah, needless to say. And then, of course, you got Mamdani doing his thing over there, which is obviously going to be fought in court at some point down the line.
Well, they're talking about directly seizing property from people. Because, like, okay, why? Because there's some arbitrary, like, metric now that you're not living up to as a landlord. And the tenants have decided that you're in violation, so we're going to come in as the government and seize the property from you. Like, we are in, like, a bad way, bro. Like, we're seriously... And this is the biggest city in the country. I don't know if it's the biggest, but I think it is. Is New York City the biggest city?
Anyway, it's one of the larger ones.
It's like the shining jewel on the hill. And we're watching the fall of New York currently. We're watching it go under. We're watching it be destroyed. And it's to applause and smiling people and like retarded faggots in the fucking background who were just like, no, I'm still wearing a mask. Look at my pink hat. Like, dude, everyone's so fucking dumb, dude. And it makes me upset. Like when you leave your microphone on mute for the first 11 and a half minutes of a chat while you're going on an epic rant that will never, like, I won't ever be able to do that again. Like, you guys don't even know. You guys have no fucking idea. It's fine. I'm just really upset that it was muted. I'm like really fucking upset. I'm really, 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 really upset, and I need to chill out. It's been a long day, dude. How are things going for you guys? They're not going great for me. I can tell you that.
Yeah, Memorial Day kind of fucked up everything. I was supposed to get to multiple things in today, Second Amendment related, but unfortunately they did not come in. So hopefully tomorrow or Thursday.
Well, my job has been so fucking okay. Like, nobody has money right now, right? Anybody have money out there right now? Anybody have like extra money that you're just like, oh, look at all this extra money that I've got? Right. Nobody has extra money. And you know where you don't go when you don't have, where you don't go when you like have no extra money? The place that I work at. So our sales have dropped through the fucking floor recently. We are like in survival mode. I have started doing DoorDash on the side. I've only done it a couple of days so far, but I don't know what else to do. Like, if I don't do something, I'm going to be fucking broke and shitty and in a shitty way. I was eating dinner the other night and a fucking piece of soft chicken made my tooth fall apart that had gotten work on it previously. Thankfully, it doesn't hurt, but half my fucking tooth fell off because they'd glued it on and it fucking came unglued or whatever. I don't know what they fucking do with teeth now, but that fucking happened. Like, there's so many fucking things that are just terrible right now, dude. And I don't know what to do about it. So, whatever, dude. And then you mute yourself for the first 11 minutes when you're trying to fucking talk about something that's not your own little fucking problem. Yeah, they're not going to redo it for free. That shit doesn't happen. It's not a bad way to... Dude, I did it for 4 hours the other day, Mr. Neil O'Donnell. So my car's burning gas. I'm driving back and forth. I'm putting miles on my car, putting miles on my tires that I'm going to have to replace, putting miles on my brakes that I'm going to have to replace. All of that. So that's not even counting the gas that I burned. Do you know how much I made in 4 hours? Any guesses? Put some numbers in that chat. 4 hours of door dashing.
$40.
$37. You're right. So it's like, oh, that's not a bad way to make a living. Yeah, I guess. Like, the one good thing that happened was while I was door dashing and not getting orders because no one has money for DoorDash, they'll just drive and get it themselves at this point. You know what I mean? I was working on my motorcycle and I fixed some shit by looking at a fucking wiring diagram and figuring out which specific fuse it was and going and getting the fuse and, about getting the fuse. So I might as well make a delivery. And you know what I mean? Like, that kind of worked out. That was kind of cool. So I was kind of killing two birds with one stone. I was working on my bike and I made $40 is how I'm looking at it, rather than being completely negative, which is I did this for 4 hours and only made $40. But shit needs to turn around, bro. Like, if things continue to degrade at the rate that they've been degrading, 10 years is too far away. That's like be living in the street in 10 years, bro.
Well, it's what 2030 is the current globalist agenda that they're trying to put in place, and it seems to be going that way. You had Larry Fink, the BlackRock CEO, talking about some bullshit the other day, how it's going to be the American people, our pension funds, our bank accounts, et cetera, paying for all the data centers to basically be powered up and be just nothing but a spy grid at this point. So that's a fun time to have happen. You also have, apparently, if you call out the AI data centers, there is now law enforcement doing extremism stuff that is essentially trying to call American people terrorists when it's just tyrannical government at that point. So, yeah.
Bro, and wait till we have the AI that, I don't know, bro. Put all of the people on the list who are going to become a problem when we do this thing in the future. And then it's like, okay, this person, that person, this. All right, how many of those people have guns that they can use? This person, that person. How many of those people have training? This person, that person. How many people, et cetera, and then you get your list of people and you'll get them. Now you can do the thing that you want to do without fucking problems.
I feel like a lot of our current issues can actually be explained that Skynet has taken over in the future and is now sending robots back to the past to impersonate politicians.
I just don't know what to do, man. Like, side gigs and stuff, like, that's like, sure, that'll get you through like the week or whatever. That'll put like groceries on the table tonight when you can't afford it because you just paid rent. But that's not going to pay the rent, And when the main gigs turn into shit, like, everyone else is like, oh man, things are getting expensive, I better spend less. I'm like, cool, I'm making like 20% of the money that I normally make now. Like, literally.
Have you thought about doing mechanic work or something on the side as a possible future main gig?
Have you?
I don't have the skill set. My cousin does. He does it all the time. He actually does quite a bit of money here.
Neither do I. I don't have the skill set. Work for precision drilling. It's around the Brighton area. 3K take-home pay for a week's work. Okay. I don't know how to precision drill things, though, X-Adam. I would totally go precision drill things for $3,000 a week. I'll precision drill the shit out of that hole for $3,000 a week, bro. I would. But, and Brighton's doable. It's kind of far away, but, you know, if it's $3K a week, I could move. It's fine. Kids are getting older now. That's another thing, dude. Like going off to college. I got one going to college. He's going to like university, and God knows how that's going to go. Fucking kind of apprehensive, to be honest. But any like note of apprehension that I bring is met with like, I don't know. It's not met well. Let's say that. It's not received well. And so, therefore, it's not received at all. And therefore, any complaints that I have are just ignored. You know what I mean? And I hope I'm wrong about certain things, but it's going to be a lot of money that he owes by the end of it. So that's the main thing that I'm worried about, is having a fucking mortgage for a house that you can't live in. It's a piece of paper, not a house, you know? And then, man, where did all this like Jew hate come from? This is getting out of control, bro.
Well, it all started. No, I have no idea, actually. I think some of it actually is manufactured. I think some of it is legit. I know that who is it? Josh Shapiro, the current supposed governor of Pennsylvania, was basically claiming if you have, what was it, AIPAC, funding, and people are doing tracking of AIPAC funding, that it should be considered anti-Semitism at this point. And I'm like, yeah, because literally having politicians paid for by foreign entities is considered anti-Semitism, you fucking moron. Like, it's just so ridiculous is what it is.
Well, it turns out Massey, the senator dude, Thomas Massey,
yeah,
one of his biggest funders was an Iranian fucking foreign PAC or whatever.
And then
they're giving him millions of dollars, dude. And of course he's gonna, if like Iran's giving you a bunch of money because you're already like, I don't like the Jews. Like, of course.
Well, then the guy who he was facing off against in that primary was actually backed completely by Israel, is what it is. Like, even you could tell it was that there's clearly quite a fraud in that primary too, because this Ed guy's entire what was it, his like main stage or whatever he had for his political party win or whatever, there was like 10 people at the freaking place, and they're claiming he won by like tens of thousands of votes. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's not the case at all.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do know that there's a lot of things that Massey held up that he was a dick about, and that, like, sometimes it was kind of like a genius move, it seemed like, but other times it was just like him being a contrarian, or him going with the Democrats, or him just like not wanting to sign the thing, or you know what I mean, like whatever it was. And
yeah,
like, bro, we don't need that right now. Like, we need to fucking make things fucking move forward at light speed, because we don't have that much time before things are like might be flipped around. And if everything's executive order, if that's the only way that things get done, then the second the other party gets into power, everything's undone. You know, it's like reversal spell, you know, like just goes away.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said a couple months ago when I had that epiphany. When you look at what our current federal government is, it's basically 90s Democrats in the face of Trump and Vance and stuff like that, versus whatever the Democrat Party is now in 2026. So it's all just Democrats. It's not even Republicans anymore.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you listen to like Bill Clinton's original, whatever year was it, 96 that he originally got?
It would have been 92, I think, was his first
92.
term.
Okay, so yeah, in like 1992, what he ran on against Bush and against that other dude, not Al Gore, what was his name? The independent businessman from Texas.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Ross Perot.
Ross Perot, thank you. What the Democrats were talking about back then was that we need a secure and strong border. We need protection on jobs so that people who apply for jobs are known to be American citizens. We need ID verification checks, which they later came out with under Clinton to make sure that if you said that you were an American citizen, they could verify that you have a social security card and number and that you were born in the United States and hence are employable, right? And if you weren't going through those verification checks, there was penalties that were in place on the employers for not complying. And they were so severe that companies complied, because if you didn't comply, it meant that you weren't doing business anymore. So, yeah, and like that was just the border stuff. You know, there's a 100 different things, like gay marriage. Do you think the Democrats were for gay marriage back then? Hell no, they weren't, dude. Not even, not openly, at least. Not fucking as a platform. In fact, I think the opposite is a platform. If you asked them back then, they would have said no. Marriage is between a man and a woman. You know, like, what about transgenderism? Oh, that's mental illness. It's on the DSM-5, right? Like stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of these boomers, which they are boomers, a lot of them, the default liberals, default Democrats, because they didn't fucking work hard enough to understand what was going on in front of them and see how things were changing in their face while it was happening, you know? And the Democrats changed from that to what they are now. And the Republicans changed from what they used to be, which I don't even know, man. They used to be fucking kind of crazy too, to what the Democrats used to be. And I kind of was like in the what Democrats used to be camp for the most part. There's certain things like if you'd asked me back then, I would have been okay with versus now I'm not, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes down to the majority of my ideas and how I think that the world should work and the country should work, they're classic liberal Democrat type policies, you know? And those only work if you don't have a shitload of fraud and you don't have a fuck ton of people jumping the border and you know, like cheating the system, which is, again, another form of fraud. It's basically a lot of fraud. We got rid of all of the fraud, and we got to get rid of everyone who is a naturalized citizen, so not a born citizen, who's committed these frauds needs to be denaturalized and deported. And I believe that includes, like, let's say there's some daycare program that's fraudulent, and you come to me and you say, Honda, you have 2 kids, right? You're home with them all the time? Yeah. Hey, why don't you just tell the government that they're with me some days? Is that okay? And I'll give you some money. Yeah, I like money. Sure. I'll tell them that. That's fine. Guess what? Now you get deported too. Now your kids can stay here or they can come with you. Right? We're not deporting the kids, but if you choose to bring them with you, then we're deporting the kids too, I guess, in effect. But if we're deporting you and your entire family for being frauds, who are you going to leave your kids with? So they'll be taking the kids too. I don't know, man. There's a lot of shit going on in this country that needs to be fixed. I mean, there's some good stuff going on. Honestly, there is.
Well, they're finally uncovering the amount of fraud too. And it was Vance, and I forget who else was on the panel today, was talking about it, and they said that they found enough already that it could fund the entire federal government for the next couple of years. And it could also knock out some of the national debt as well. So the problem is that, and this is my biggest gripe with J.D. Vance right now, him being not only the vice president, but also being from here in Ohio, he's not dealing with Ohio's problems as VP because a lot of the fraud starts and ends in this state, specifically all the Somalis that were brought in under Obama and Kasich. are the exact reason why all this fraud is going on right now in my state. It's the exact reason why you have state house members who are Somali terrorists who shouldn't even be there to begin with, who are behind a lot of it. They're behind millions of it, actually. And they're not being, like you said, denaturalized and deported is what it is.
Well, and like Ilhan Omar is being potentially brought up on charges. They were investigating her. She didn't produce documents. They asked her to come give, like, before a panel or whatever. She didn't show up. Like, there was a major conviction in a Minnesota case involving millions and millions of dollars of fraudulently paid for lunches for children during COVID, in which she was directly involved, apparently, and was named by the person who was convicted as a complicit member. So she's going to be, and she is under investigation. Her not talking about stuff right now is probably her lawyers telling her to shut the fuck up. But that's only a matter of time. That's something that's hopeful. The war in Iran might be heading to, I mean, and that's a big might, but if they can come to some agreements, the Iranians have talked about, they've agreed on a great multitude of things, but there's still a couple of things that they need to work out. In the next couple of days, they'll know, blah, blah, blah. So who knows? Hopefully, and Trump has been signaling that the deal's pretty much done, but, you know, that's Trump trying to sell things. But hopefully he's right, though, that the deal's pretty much done and that there's just a couple, you know, formalities or little things that have to be figured out. I mean, they're talking about being able to go in and get the uranium and the heavy water and plutonium or whatever other fucking fissile material that they have inside of Iran out, which was the point of the war in the first place. And if you get that material out, that kind of proves the point that you needed to go in. It's like talking about the weapons of mass destruction during Iraq and Iran. And remember that thing with George Bush being like, where's those WMDs? Are they over here? Are they over there? We can't find them. You know?
And then it turned out years later it was all bullshit. Yeah.
So if they go in and they get the fucking, you know, bomb making material out of Iran, especially if it's in the like if when they dig it up or they find it or whatever, it's in the process of being made into a bomb, it's in some form of like a bomb component, not just fissile material, then it's like, dude, love him or hate him, Trump just stopped a nuclear war. Because Iran with nukes, they're at least holding the world hostage. You know, they're at least saying, like, do what we say or else. Look what they did with the Strait of Hormuz. They don't have any right to fucking close off an international waterway that their country happens to be next to. They have no right to do that, but they're doing it. They wouldn't have any right to do anything with the nukes. Do you think they'd do that too? Seems like they would. And they'd be aiming it at all their neighbors, apparently, because as soon as they started getting bombed, they started hitting UAE and fucking Qatar and all of these other countries that are around them that didn't even have anything to do with, like, Israel, the United States bombing Iran. So the fact that they've funded terrorism for years, for decades, since before I was born, they've been funding terrorism, and they'd still do it today if they could, right? They're probably still doing it today, let's be honest.
Yeah.
They literally have fissile nuclear material that they, like, do you know how hard it is to get heavy water, excuse me? You know what you have to do?
I have no idea.
So heavy water, deuterium, is a form of hydrogen that is basically got an extra neutron or something like that. I forget the exact thing, but it weighs a little bit more, right? Which is why when there's a water molecule that has a deuterium instead of a hydrogen molecule inside of it, it's considered heavy water, because if you weigh it, it weighs more than a regular water molecule, right? But it's only like 0.1% of the hydrogen trapped inside water is deuterium. It's like very, very, very small portion is deuterium. So what they do is, to get it concentrated, is like you got to take like 100 gallons of water, right? And you do electrolysis where you separate the hydrogen and the oxygen, and the deuterium and oxygen bond is a little bit stronger than the hydrogen bond. So when you do the electrolysis, it breaks the regular hydrogen bonds, but the deuterium bonds stay. So you take 100 gallons of water and make it 1 gallon. Now you're at like 0.1%. And so you got to do 100 of those. And so you get 100 of those gallons and you put it in 1 gallon. And now you're at like 1%. And so then you got to do 100 of those. You get 100 of those gallons and you put it into 1 gallon. And now you're at, like levels closer to what you need to be at. So you're talking tens of thousands of gallons of water. It takes years to do this, right? Years. It's not easy to do. So having any amount of deuterium, of heavy water, is direct evidence that you are preparing to make a nuke, because there's no other reason to get deuterium. There's literally no other reason to have deuterium. Anyway. Or the uranium, right? Getting refined uranium, like naturally, you're talking like 0.5% to 1% would be like, wow, that's really rich in uranium. It's got like 1% uranium, and you take that and you like refine it, and then you get to like 5% or 20% or something like that. But getting it to like 70% is apparently pretty difficult, because you got to like know how to do things chemically to get rid of stuff that's inside of it, and flux and different temperatures, and it's a whole scientific process that if you don't know how to do it, you got to experiment until you know how to do it, and whatever. So that's a whole process to get to like 70% or higher is ridiculously hard, unless someone teaches you how to do it. And even if they teach you how to do it, it's pretty fucking hard. Anyway, like having all of these materials proves that they had intent to make bombs. And if they had bombs, it kind of, I think, logically infers that they would use those bombs to hold the world hostage for Islamic terrorist reasons, because that's what they are, is an Islamic terrorist state.
Yeah. Didn't Hillary Clinton get caught when she was Secretary of State selling a bunch of uranium to different countries?
To Canada. Actually, it was, if I remember correctly, I thought it was us buying, but maybe it was us selling. No, it was us selling. So we didn't sell uranium directly to Russia, but we sold uranium to a Canadian conglomerate that then sold it to Russia. So like it's another thing that happens with like sanctioned Iranian oil, right? In previous times, like these unmarked Iranian ships would come in and fill up with Iranian oil and sail out to international waters, where they would dock with like UK boats or wherever and dump their oil into their holes in the middle of the ocean, pay in cash so that there's not like a paper trail, right? And then they take the oil back to the UK or whatever country of origin, like they got it legitimately. Like, oh, we're here with wherever oil, right? And they get it for cheaper because, yeah, anyway. It's kind of like that. It was kind of like a deal like that.
Yeah, so basically some middleman stuff.
Which, I mean, it just turns out this shit's going on constantly everywhere. Like, everything's fake, everything's gay, everything's a lie, everything's made of fraud. Think about how many people have, like, nice houses and nice cars, and they've got, like, the $2 million car and the Tesla and everything. You're like, what does that guy do for a living? Oh, he doesn't work very much, you know? Seems like he's at the house a lot and just chills out, and see him walking the dog and exercising, and, you know, he's got a nice tan going, all that kind of thing, but it only seems to work like one day a month maybe or something. I don't even know. Well, it's not that he has a trust fund, because there's only so many. Like, there are people who have trust funds, so that could be the explanation, I suppose, but there's only so many of those people in the country, in the world. You know, not everybody has a trust fund. Most people don't. So that means you must have an awesome job. But how many awesome jobs are there that pay you a fuck ton of money to not work very much? There's not many of those. Like, if it's the kind of thing where they pay you a fuck ton of money, they usually need you to work all the time. Like, work as many hours as you possibly physically can, because, like, you're the only one who can do this thing for us, and that's why we're paying you so much to get to work, right? So it's not that. A lot of it turns out, is fraud. A lot of them just have daycares or fucking hospices. How is it 1/3, is it, or like a quarter? It's a quarter or a third of all of the hospices in the United States are in Los Angeles. Like, that shit doesn't math. A quarter or a third of the population of the United States doesn't live there. How is that even possible to have that many hospices in one fucking city? It's ridiculous. It's obviously fraudulent. It's obviously fucking crazy, over the top, blatant fucking fraud. And especially when like a lot of these hospices get closed down. First of all, no one complains. There's no like patient who's like, hey, my services, because no one was providing services because it was fraudulent in the first place. But they're like running away and getting on planes and escaping to other countries. And there was a story of a guy who jumped out of a 4th-story building and broke both of his legs trying to get away from the FBI because they were there to arrest him for fraud. It's like, my God, man, it's like theater. Fine wine. We need more of it. We need more fine wine.
Yeah, we definitely need more Nick Shirley types in the world, is what it is. That are actually going to do real investigative journalism on like the mainstream media doesn't do their job at all.
You know, in America, we assume innocence until proven guilty. Yeah, but we need to fucking take those people that we've proven some guilt on and turn the screws on them real fucking hard on their nutsack, bro. Until they turn state's evidence against people who have conspired with them. And then we get them and we turn screws on their nutsacks until they give more names. And then we get them and we turn screws on nutsacks till we get... We just need to start turning screws on nutsacks, dude. Trump didn't protect Nick Shirley. What do you mean he didn't protect Nick Shirley? Did Nick Shirley get attacked?
My understanding was it was California was trying to put in some kind of bullshit bill that was specifically named after Nick to stop investigative journalism. I don't know if anything ever came of that or not. I don't think he's been assaulted or anything like that. The last I heard, he was in some other country doing something to crack open some stuff over there or whatever.
Well, it's funny how, like, whenever there's someone who's on the right who, and I wouldn't even say Nick Shirley's on the right. He's just not on the left, you know, and he's trying to reach for accountability in government, which makes him default right. But I don't even know if he is. But he's been identified as default right, which means he's been identified as a enemy and therefore as a target. And as a target, he needs to have enough security with him. So when he goes out and does these events now, it probably costs him a fuck ton of money. Versus before, he could just go with like a cameraman or whatever, and it was fine. Mm-hmm. Now he's got to pay for like a cameraman and 5 security guards and 4 hotel rooms, and you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be easy for him moving forward. And that's on purpose. That is on purpose on their side. They've directed the mentally ill to attack people who they ideologically identify as enemies. And then they tell you who those enemies are and point the mentally ill people at them. Why do you... Okay, how many fucking attempts have there been on Trump's life now?
Well, there was the one in D.C. most recently where it was a guy shooting at the White House, so that would be at least 5 or 6 now.
How many attempts have there been on Trump's life? List them. So is this a complete list? I hope so. It starts in 2024, so I don't think it is, because didn't he have an attempt on him in his first term?
Are you talking about when he was running for president, or are you talking about when he was actually president in 2016 to 2020?
2016. Okay, Stage Rushers, Dayton, Ohio, Las Vegas, there was a guy who, both of those times, so there's 2 times in 2016 where someone jumped on the stage, tried to grab a gun out of a holster of a cop or something, and then they were stopped. So that's 2 right there. 2017, there was the forklift incident in North Dakota where the guy tried to ram the motorcade, which, let's be honest, was a shitty attempt, but a fucking attempt nonetheless. So that's 3. We got Ryzen poisoning letters, so multiple letters sent to the White House, but we'll just call that 1. So that's 4. That's 4 attempts in his first term. There was the Iranian plot. That's 5. The February 2026 armed man in Mar-a-Lago. That's 6. And then there was also Butler, Pennsylvania. That's 7. There's the Trump. I guess that was the same one. Ryan Wesley. Oh no, they didn't. That's a different one. So that's 8.
Yeah, that was the dude with the
and then there's the White House Correspondents' Dinner. So that's 9 attempps. Although,
well, then there was also the one this past weekend where there was a dude shooting at the White House, so that would be 10. And then if you add, I don't think the one that was on the list was on there, which was the guy that was in during one of the campaign stops in the first time around. There was a dude who actually had a gun, and Trump looked down, and this was like, what was it, 2 months or something before the presidential race or whatever. And he looked down and was like, "Oh yeah, he sure does." And then he had Secret Service grab him off the stage real quick, is what it was.
wow.
So it's at least 11 or 12 now.
So we're considering all of the Ryzen letters as 1, even though there was multiple letters, and there's still 11 attempts on his life.
Well, there was also the poisoning event too, because there was during the his first administration, he and the guy who was the food tester both got seriously ill and almost killed the food tester guy.
I forgot about that too. That's true. Bro. So that's 12 incidents now. And granted, there was a couple, like the forklift thing, like that was never going to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest. Let's be fair. But let's also be fair. That was someone who was a crazed lunatic. Oh, wait, no, he wasn't. He wasn't a crazed lunatic. He was acting very rationally and sanely based upon false information that he believed provided to him by the mainstream media. The mainstream media calls Trump a Nazi and a racist and Hitler and the worse than Hitler and like all of these things, and how like he's going to end democracy and how he's going to kill all the trans people and like all of these things that are hyperbolically untrue. They're hyperbolic and they're untrue at the same time. They're both things. They're provably untrue and they're hyperbolic. They're like, here's the thing that he's like, remember when he was like negotiating with Iran and he was trying to get them to capitulate to what he said, and he's like, you better do what I say or you're gonna lose your entire civilization. They're like, oh, what kind of president would do that where they would threaten to end a civilization? It's like, okay, did he end a civilization? Because let's talk about the realm of reality. Yes, let's keep things in the realm of not hypotheticals and not potentialities, but things that are happening and or have happened. Can we do that? Because if you do that, then every single argument that the left has falls apart, because everything is an imaginary. It's the monster under the bed that they all see. And like, there's 3 liberals that all say that there's a monster under the bed, and here I am saying there's no fucking monster under the bed, and they're calling me crazy when I'm looking under the bed and there's obviously no monster. But they see a monster, and because all 3 of them see it, it strengthens the belief that there's a monster, because they're not the only one who sees it. They look left and they look right and they see another monster believer. And then we look crazy to them because we're like, bitch, ain't no fucking monster. But I don't know, man. Try to convince someone that they're wrong. Have you ever done that? You ever tried to do that?
It's very hard.
And even on simple things, small things, it's hard. Let alone something big like, here's your worldview. here's your idea about how this thing works, right? Basically, the way that those have to be broken down is by their own reality being, I don't know, their reality imploding because the idea, the model that they had of the world is so disjointed from the regular world that exists that their predictions are so far off that it just sends them into some sort of a cognitive spin or something, you know? And you don't come out of that until you realize, like, wow, my world model was completely fucking wrong. Let me try to rebuild it. Let me try to fucking put it back together in a way that fits reality around me, you know? And like, and that's what that is like when your worldview breaks, that's what's happening. Is something came in and smashed it hard enough that you're like, wow, this is really not working. This view of reality that I had is really not adding up to the things that are around me. So I really got to think about putting it together in a different way because it's incorrect. Like the only way you get there is by something coming and smashing your shit, bro.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is too, and I've realized with a lot of that stuff, especially the older people get, the less they are to actually try to look back and be like, oh yeah, I had this wrong or that wrong. They'll just dig their heels, and even worse is what it is. So it's not even really worth to have the conversation. It's just like, yeah, you're just going to piss everybody off, and it's not going to bring anybody anywhere except everybody's going to be angry. So it's like, might as well just have some fun doing something else is what it is then. Especially with family. So...
And that's kind of the position that I'm in. I've got several family members now that are like digging their heels in about this subject or that subject having to do with political things going on in the world right now that they disagree with me about specifically. That they're angry with me about my views about. That they think that I'm dangerously wrong about. And the thing is, I don't think that I'm living in cognitive dissonance. I don't think... And maybe I am. And you know, please someone, if you see it, point it out to me so that I can fucking try to do something about it. Because I would like to think of myself as one of the people who is chasing truth. And not one of the few people, but because there's a lot of us out there, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I was thinking about this. Like, what would Trump have to do, or what would have to be proven about Trump to make me not support him anymore and not like him anymore? And I was thinking the main thing, honestly, would have to be that this whole thing has just been a psychological operation, that they knew that they would never get him into power if he just ran as a straight up person, so that they knew that everyone hated the media so much, so they opposed him, the media opposed Trump, that it would just have default people who supported Trump because they hate the media so much, which was kind of like where I fell into Trump in the first place, right? It's like, I didn't know who to vote for in 2016. I didn't really, you know what I mean? Like, who knows what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's this guy who everyone in the media is laughing at and making fun of and calling stupid and calling wrong. While at the same time, he's like, you know, calling out some pretty prominent shit going on at the time when no one else is. He's talking about the things that's on people's minds when no one else on those stages was, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah. Those were two things that got me. It got me because the media hated him, but it also got me because he did have a good message. It wasn't just like it was empty. It wasn't just like an empty message. But if it turns out that he's just been a psyop the whole time, then yeah, I mean, and that would have to be true of Elon Musk too, to be honest.
Well, I think going back, when you look at the whole candidate Trump in 2015, going into the 2016 election there, a lot of what got him elected is exactly what we saw at the rallies. It was these people trying to assassinate him. It was him looking down and literally staring a guy in the face with a gun and being like, okay, and then getting pulled off the stage. Like, and mind you, like I said, that was, 3-4 months before the actual election. That's what got him, I guarantee, elected that time around, is what it was. Was people just being like, that's fucking insane, but this is the guy we need in power because he's able to stare down that kind of shit and have no fear. And the issue really with the first term around is what it was. is that you had so much of the swamp that existed at the time that were these career politicians in there for 30, 40, 50 years in some cases that were able to sit there and tie his hands behind his back. So we didn't get the wall we needed. We didn't get the mass immigration stop we needed is what it was. And then it got even worse under Biden is what it was then as well. So
like it's cool if they've got some retarded robot that can kind of do things or whatever. But notice how everything's in like slow motion or like they're not showing it in actual time. Like I wonder how long it's taking that fucker to make that bed and to fucking
if
clean
you
that
want to see
dish or
something
whatever.
funny, check out the robot that was trying to do the Michael Jackson impersonation the other day and then
It
fell on
almost fell
stage and couldn't
down,
get back. No, it fell down and they couldn't get back up. You got to have the guy come and grab it off. Because they can't understand stairs yet, thankfully.
Oh, it's funny how okay, check this out. The
Valley
egg.
talent, the S1 is its intelligence.
Watch the egg. Oh, the egg's in the pan. You start shaking the pan. Oh, can't get it. Cutscene. Oh, it's already flipped. Didn't need any help at all. I didn't think Japanese people drank milk.
They do a lot of things interestingly over in those countries. Specifically, they don't put their eggs in the fridge because it's something to do with how the membrane of the yolk works or whatever. Because with ours, when we make them cold, it breaks that, I believe it's membrane, and then it can't be put at room temperature anymore. Whereas theirs just at room temperature all the time is what it is. So it's pretty interesting.
I don't believe that shit, dude. You got some weird Chinese shit going on there.
Well, it's a lot of Asian
have-
countries that'll
Okay,
be like that.
name one kind of Asian cheese. Go. I'm talking Korean. I'm talking Japanese. I'm talking Chinese. I'm talking Thai.
Well, no, we're not talking about milk products. We're talking about eggs specifically.
No, I'm talking about cheese specifically.
Okay. Well, I don't know of any of those things that make.
Yeah,
any kind
you
of
don't know
cheeses
of any
there.
because they don't make it. They don't eat cheese. That's the weirdest thing to me.
They do eat a lot of what is it? Kimchi.
That's not cheese either.
I know, but what I'm saying is I'm talking about like their dietation or their dietary needs that they have over there, which do make them obviously a lot less fat than we are is what it is because of all our processed stuff over here is what it is then.
Well, there's brawls taking outside of ICE in Newark between agents and leftist rioters.
Yeah, there was some politician there. I can't remember if he was Democrat or Republican. He got maced in the face today.
It's funny how many people there are who just have cameras who are there. It's like, oh, look how many are in the crowd. Yeah, like fucking a quarter of that crowd is just there to record.
What was hilarious was there was two Hispanic guys that were walking out of the facility there, and you had the crowd cheering them on, being like, "Yeah, awesome, they're being let go." And it turned out they actually just work there.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah.
Dream.
Here's what they're here for.
I'm here for my money and my free house. It's my dream. I'm here.
That has to be AI. It's too on the nose.
No, they're stupid enough to say shit like that because it's the IQ level is what it is.
Hey, there's your Stop Shirley Act. California just voted to pass AB 2624, aka the Stop Nick Shirley Act. This bill puts journalists at civil risk for investigating fraud and makes it harder to expose fraud in immigration support services, including NGOs, nonprofits, and healthcare facilities that receive millions from the state of California each year. The bill would have made it criminal to expose fake hospices in LA or the Somali Leering Center in Minnesota if they then claim reasonable fear, and the business owner gives a written demand not to post the video. Plain and simple, California is trying to make it harder to expose fraud and scare individuals from investigating fraud in their communities, as they would be sued for an injunction to remove the video and forced to pay their attorney's fees, a minimum of $4,000 in damages. The Attorney General's wife, Mia Bonta, created this bill and is now trying to make it law in his How is this not conflict of interest? Yeah, dude, 100%, bro. 100%.
Well,
Like,
I would go further than that actually and say, if you look into all that, who is actually in favor of this, whether it be primary sponsor, whether it be co-sponsors of this legislation, every single one of these people should be on a list to be investigated for fraud and embezzlement and everything else like that, because I guarantee they're on the take.
well, I mean, the fraud and embezzlement thing really hits home for me, right? My dad, when I was a wee lad, before I had any fucking say in anything, was the vice president of John Deere Motor Company. And as the vice president, did some shisty shit and stole a bunch of money and embezzled it and got caught and spent 5 years in prison as a U.S. citizen. They ripped our family apart. They separated children from their father and put him in prison for 5 years, right? And then called it rehabilitation at the end. So, and that was for tens of thousands of dollars, you know. It was a lot of money, especially 1980 or whatever, 1985, somewhere in there. But compared to the millions and billions of dollars that these people are stealing, especially from where they're stealing it from, it wasn't some corporation, it wasn't some company. They were stealing from fucking our future. They're stealing from my deathbed. They're stealing from, you know, your future kids having fucking health care when you're going through tough times. You know what I mean? Like all that kind of shit. So, yeah, it's worse in magnitude and it's worse in who's the victim of it. And so in two ways, it's way worse than what my dad did. And these people aren't getting 5 years. Like he was sentenced to way more than 5. He got out at 5 years. So they sentenced him to probably like 10 or something. I don't even know, to be honest. But they're not even getting 5 years. These people are getting sentenced to like 4 years, 3 years in prison, which means they'll be out in like 2. You know, they'll be out in a year and a half. And it's like, bro, I made, like, let's say you're one of these people. You're making $3 million a year fraudulently. You've been doing it for 10 years. So you've made $30 million. You finally get caught. They sentence you to 4 years in prison. You do 2. You get out. That means you did 2 years in prison for $30 million. Would anyone else do 2 years in prison? Raise your hand. 2 years in prison for $30 million. Any takers? Would anyone like put aside your family for the next 2 years and the things that you love to do and all that shit for 2 years, 2 full years, and live in a box where you might get beat up and shit and things kind of suck. Yeah, I admit. But at the end of it, you got a $30 million paycheck waiting for you. I think I would do it because I would know that at the end of those 2 years, I'd be set for life. I'd never have to lift a finger again. I'd buy a whole bunch of those fucking slow moving robots to make my bed and then we could do it quicker. Anyway.
The thing is too, it's not like all the fraud also isn't, well, not all of it, but there's a good portion of it that's also being used to fund terrorism overseas.
Marcel Williams killed Howard Hicks, 53, and Marianne Hicks inside their Seattle home. Stabbed 159 times. 69 prior arrests. He was freed 2 days before.
There's apparently entire neighborhoods in Seattle, Washington now that are barricading their streets to stop all the crime wave there because the mayor's a fucking communist stupid cunt.
Oh, just wait till you see what happens in New York. Bro, if you're a New York landowner, like let's say you own a building and you heard Mamdani talking about seizing property from people who aren't up to date with whatever new city ordinance they dream up, and you're not immediately thinking about selling everything you have property-wise in New York and getting the fuck out of there as soon as possible, then you're retarded. And here's the thing. As soon as this starts happening, it will start happening quickly because it will be a race to the bottom. Because, like, once everyone sells, it like you're not getting shit for your property, you know.
Mhm.
Like after everyone sells, like what do you think the last property that sells is worth? The last man out is the one holding the bag, man. You don't want to hold that bag. So the first one out is, you know, looking the best. So they're all looking to be the first. The smart ones are looking to be first one out. The kind of smart ones are thinking about getting out. The dumb ones are waiting for things to turn around, bro. It's not.
Yeah.
Like, how do you think Escape from New York ended there? You know, this is like Act 1 of Escape from New York.
Well,
This
a
is
lot of the
Good.
a lot of the issue is the fact that a lot of these landlords, they're living paycheck to paycheck from these rents, and so they can't afford to go there and make like tens of thousands of dollars of repairs or hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of repairs at the time. They need to get the updates and stuff like that. And then when you, not only that, but then you also have, there was that one during the lockdowns where there was some woman who was working the system, was able to use taxpayer funded state or city attorneys, whichever it was, and was able to basically block rent for like, I think she was living in this place rent free for like 35 years or something crazy like that. And it's shit like that that all these landlords are having to put up with. So they're not making any rent at all on these people, and they're just taking a loss. They're taking a bath every single time is what it is for years at a time. So of course they're not gonna be able to make the money to be able to afford to update everything like it needs to be updated. So yeah, it's just a bunch of shit all the way around is what it is.
Well, hot dog, we have a wiener.
Man, that thing's great.
Don't praise the machine.
If you don't get that kid an elephant by tomorrow, the DJ 3000 gets your job.
Looks like those clowns in Congress did it again. What a bunch of clowns.
How does he keep up with the news like that?
Well, hot dog.
Yep. Simpsons did it.
I actually heard an interesting one earlier about how one of the guys that was in the original cast that created that show, I forget if he was a writer or exactly what he was. Apparently he was married to Jennifer Tilly at the time though, and she actually got something in a divorce where she now makes like $6 to $10 million a year off Simpsons episodes.
Well, at least some of the houses are legitimate. You ever seen these big baggers race? They do King of the Baggers where they take big Harleys and fucking Indian sport or cruiser bikes and like strip them down and soup them up and put like better suspension and tires on them and stuff and like, you know, get as much performance as they can out of them, and they race them around these fucking tracks as fast as they'll fucking go, and the back ends are breaking loose, and it's crazy, man. It's still a big heavy bike. Like you strip all the weight you possibly can, and it's still fucking.
What kind of knee pads and stuff are they wearing in that to not scrape the shit out of their knees when they're doing the turns and whatnot?
Well, it's a full body racing suit, and then you've got basically plastic sliders on your knees and elbows.
Oh, okay.
Knees, elbows, shoulders. So when you lean over far enough, if your knee's touching, like that's how you know you can kind of like stick your knee out and judge where you're at, you know, at a point. But like most road riders never even get close to leaning that hard, you know?
Yeah.
Watch Russia demonstrate their nest of nuts modified ballistic missiles. Okay, let's watch.
Russia just fired another one of their modified ballistic missiles that travels over Mach 10, and in Russian it translates into a nest of nuts, and that's, of course, just classic MIRV technology, but this is hypersonic MIRV technology, and so it comes back in, it goes up into space, turns around, comes back in at 10,000, 15,000 miles an hour. They've got hypersonic missiles, reportedly they go Mach 20. We reportedly have them as well, but the Russians have shown off Mach 15. You can't shoot them down with lasers, particle beams. Missiles are completely worthless against it. The U.S. has our best systems over there, and the THAAD and others, and they completely failed. It was just a demonstration, and Putin reportedly has thousands of this particular type of ballistic missile. It's also interesting to note they were not hydrogen warheads, hydrogen bombs in the warheads, and there was no conventional explosives. just with the kinetic energy of the empty warheads. We can show you footage of it. NATO is saying they think there's 10 warheads in each one, or MIRV packages, reentry devices. But if you count it up, looks like a lot more. Go back to the nighttime of the ICBM coming in. It's a black night. You see a whole bunch of, that looks like a lot more than 10 to me. You see those clusters? Now, what they think is that each MIRV pops open and it has its own little chestnuts inside. But to count those up, that's a lot more than 10 projectiles coming in. And so each projectile blew up the equivalent of, an entire.
Yep. Now we got to worry about space fucking projectiles or something. MIRVs.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I remember when Ukraine, Russia started a few years ago, and Alex Jones was talking about, maybe was Alex Jones or was it the Health Ranger guy? I think it was the Health Ranger guy was talking about it, Mike Adams, and he was talking about how it was something with, I forget what they called them, but it sounded really weird because it was almost like shooting a car off of like a ramp essentially, but it was stuff like that with like military weaponry, and I'm just like, that is scary as fuck because of how fast it can hit.
Man, I hope there's so many things, so many ways things can go wrong these days, isn't there?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why. Have you ever heard about the Fermi paradox? You know what that is?
It sounds familiar.
It's like where you do the math on how many civilizations there should be out in space that should have radio communications that we should be able to hear, and there's nothing. So it's a paradox. Like, why are we the only species seemingly that has radio communication in the entire universe? And the answer, it seems, is that the moment you become technologically advanced enough to have things like radios, you also end up with kinetic fucking MIRVs and like nukes and shit, and you tend to fucking blow yourselves out of existence. So maybe that's why.
Kind of reminds me of that episode of, I think it was Love and Robots, where the people live in the fridge door or freezer door, whichever it was, and there was like a civilization living inside of it, and it kept going all the way up to a certain amount of technology, and then it just wiped itself out and then started fresh again over the next day.
Yeah, pretty much. That's kind of the idea of like, you either blow yourselves back into fucking the Stone Age or out of existence, one or the other. A lot of people think that's what happened 12,800 years ago. Like what? So we've got miles of ice covering Canada and northern Europe and all of these like fucking like temperature changes and differences on the earth back then versus now, and all of these animals that used to live on the planet that don't live there anymore. And like, what caused that? Like, what if there was some sort of an ancient technology that had energy generation that got out of control? Because, like, here's the problem. If you had a block of ice just sitting out, it takes a long time to melt, right? You got miles thick of ice. It's going to take thousands and thousands and thousands of years to melt that ice. But we know that the ice melted rather quickly. In fact, there were 2 different times where it melted pretty much all at once. So we don't really know like exactly what happened, but there's kind of a thermal problem when it comes to melting the ice. We don't know where all of that energy, the heat, came from to melt the ice, because it didn't come from the sun. Didn't come from natural sources that we know about, you know.
Yeah, and also, I was watching something recently where they were talking about a lot of the megafauna that got taken out during those time periods, and how the strait, or whatever it was, that existed between our land mass and everything else has been pulled apart over the centuries and stuff like that. Potentially let so much stuff come over here now that would be a lot of what's the cryptids living under the... It's not really a hollow earth, it would be like a middle earth thing is what they called it. or it would be like cavern systems that just go far down and allow these things to like basically live underground is what it is. So pretty interesting.
Whatever happened to, this is a great question. Whatever happened to Joe Biden's stage 4 cancer?
As far as I'm aware, it was still existing. He just sort of disappeared into the ether at this point, honestly.
I just remember them announcing, like, oh, yeah, by the way, he's got, like, incurable cancer. Sorry. Like, what kind? Oh, yeah, the kind that killed Scott Adams, actually. It was prostate cancer that metastasized to the other parts of his body. Oh, yeah, what's the survivability of that? Basically 0%, unless you're Joe Biden for some reason.
Good old Dana Carvey.
It's only a matter of time till I scroll and see something I shouldn't see, you know?
I really want to see Hassan Piker indicted already at this point.
Okay, fill me in. What was it that he did that's illegal? What is it that he did?
So the
wrong?
most recent thing was that he was basically conspiring with the Cuban government, and he admitted that they were basically paying him as a foreign agent. So that alone would be enough to arrest him as, I think it might be for high treason even, for that matter. Or at least as like a foreign spy, if nothing else. And then he's done a bunch of other stuff that's relating to like various Islamic terrorism and stuff like that. They could probably bust him on too if they wanted to.
I'd like to see them get him on like a solid crime if they're going to go after him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want them going after podcasters and fucking internet personalities and social commentators and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you actually broke the fucking law. In which case, yeah, like, you know, go ahead, you know. But I don't know if it's like some kind of like, what is he accused of doing exactly?
It had something to do with him being allowed to broadcast in Cuba, or the Cuban government like basically setting things up for him to broadcast, but it was something to do with him basically conspiring with a foreign entity is what it was.
Yeah, that seems like a stretch to me to convict, to like go after him and convict him on that. I think you would need something more solid. But, you know, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I mean, they could just be building the case at this point, honestly. Who knows?
Randall Carlson says most likely there was an asteroid impact on the ice sheet in Canada. We can't see because it didn't go through the ice. Well, more than that, Dark Passenger. Are you familiar with the 1903 Tunguska event in Siberia, where a chunk of the very same material that supposedly came in 12,800 years ago from the Taurid meteor stream came in and smashed into basically northern Siberia, but it didn't smash into it because it's like a lighter, rocky, like, you know, airy material. I don't know how to call it. Like, it has less dense. It's not metal. So when it came into the atmosphere and started getting friction from the air, it blew up in the air before it even reached the ground. So there was, even though there wasn't even any ice, right? There was still no crater because it never hit the ground. But in doing so, do you know what it did do? Released a whole bunch of thermal energy, which flattened trees for miles and burned a whole bunch of shit up. And yeah. And imagine like a bunch of those hitting, you know, like a whole bunch of them hitting over ice. What would that do? Well, it might end the ice age. Turns out. Who would have thunk?
It'd be interesting to see how much of Canada that is basically uninhabitable because of all the coldness up there and like the very tip top of it. If there could be some stuff under the ice there is what it is, whether it be something like The Thing or whether it be like those creatures from that Chris Pratt movie. Because I could totally see that being a thing.
I think it'd be cool if Antarctica melted and we found like pyramids and shit, you know?
I mean, there's been talk about that for a while now, about why there's that whole treaty over there between all these countries. It's because there's like a secret civilization they're keeping over there. I wouldn't be surprised by it, honestly. And it kind of makes sense when you start looking into like our childhood and like a lot of the cartoons that they had back in the day, because it would be what better way to, you know, tell this shit for real than through a children's cartoon. And everybody be like, oh, you're just talking about children's cartoons. It's like, no, dude, I'm talking about a thing that actually does exist. They just happened to have Hollywood show it to us in that format. So that made everybody look insane.
So they recently discovered this thing in Egypt. There was one of the previous wonders of the world thought to be lost forever.
Mm-hmm.
The labyrinth in Egypt. So there was one in Crete or something like that. But then there was also a much grander one in Egypt that they thought was lost forever. That some dude 100 years ago dug and dug and dug and thought that he found the foundation stones of it, right? And he's like, oh, someone must have come and taken all the stones and quarried it out. So this is all that's left is these giant foundation stones. But it turns out those weren't the foundation stones. Those were the roof tiles. And the problem is that more recently they built a dam on the Nile so that they could like control the flow of the Nile. And what that has done effectively is raise the water table levels to where you can't explore this thing that they found because it's all underwater. So there's like supposedly miles and miles of rooms and tunnels and artifacts and tombs and treasures and who fucking knows what's down there, right? But they can't fucking get to it because most of it's buried, so they'd have to dig it out, right? But it's also underwater, submerged, so you can't dig it out submerged. Like, there's no way to fucking do that. So it's beyond reach at this point. And the only way to get the water out would be to remove the dam, and that dam allows water for, like 1 million people to fucking feed their crops and livestock and eat and live and shit. So no one's going to do that. So
yeah, there was something similar in one of those countries. I forget what it was, but it was, I believe it was wells I thought were wells that they were getting water from. And then they ended up draining one out one time. And it turned out it was like a giant underground labyrinth, like several thousand feet deep. And then it was like a whole bunch of other ones that were around there that were the same exact thing. And they think they were created like several centuries back now is what it is.
Have you heard about the underground cities in Turkey?
That might be what I'm thinking of.
That house tens of thousands of people. So some farmer was like digging in the back of something and then busted through and was like, oh, there's a room back here, and like went into the room and turned on a light and then realized that he discovered this 10,000 fucking person underground city. Right? And then the thing is, there's no writing in it. There's no identifiable like artifacts that would place it with a certain group of people at a certain time. No one knows who built it. No one knows when it was built. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is pretty insane. And it does make you wonder too, like how much of our civilization is built over so many other civilizations for that matter.
Yeah. All right, boys. Well, we've been going almost an hour and a half, and I actually have to go to the dentist tomorrow to fix my tooth. So, yay. Hopefully it's not too bad and it doesn't cost too much and I don't need like a root canal or something. So wish me luck with that, and for funds and for things to turn around and get better, and for family members to be cool, and for the war in Iran to go the way we want it to, and for gas prices to come down, and like there's a million things that need to happen right now. Let's get rid of all this fraud. Let's get rid of all these people doing fraud. Let's like fucking stop passing anti-Second Amendment bills. Let's fucking hold people accountable.
Stop building data centers.
All right, boys. Well, deuces, y'all. Shut up, Ian Fridge. Troop with Shabanaba to pressure Batakath care. Prec the troops. 2 words, made in America. And we'll see y'all next time. Deuces.